Oh, this is going to be a hard one. Woo! That was a butt whooping, if I've ever seen one. Listen, if you're an Ohio State fan and you saw this title and it made you mad and you wanted to get it on the video and you wanted to say, oh, I'm going to tell this guy, I can't believe he's not impressed with Ohio State's performance this week. Here you go. Here's the word gullible on the screen because I'm assuming you don't know how to spell it because you're an Ohio State fan. Type in below, I am gullible, because you went for it. Obviously, I'm impressed with Ohio State's performance. It wasn't like Purdue's performance, and I was kidding last week to an extent. Obviously, I was impressed with your performance last week. I just saw some holes. Purdue did you a lot of favors, turned the ball over a lot, and those turnovers were unforced, and they made life easy for you. Michigan State did much the same, but a lot of the things you did today, we're going to get into it, they were forced. I will tell you this, all kidding aside, this is the best half. The first half was the best performance I've ever seen, ever, out of a complete team in my life. I'm 34 years old, especially in a top 10 matchup, but maybe even in general. If you had told me that Michigan State was an FCS football team today, I would have believed it. And it wasn't because Michigan State is not that good. They certainly weren't great today, but it was more so that Ohio State just did everything right. It was a near perfect first half. The game was over by the end of the first, even before then, honestly. And they literally, this game plan, everything was perfect. So I got a lot to say about Ohio State. I think you Ohio State fans who like for me to just coddle you and tell you all the great things, you're going to love this video, obviously. I got plenty to say good about Ohio State. Pretty much nothing but good. The only thing I can think bad about Ohio State today is the backups weren't great, and the kicker, your kicker, missed his first field goal of the year. That's it. That's pretty much it. Everything else was near perfection. I would be ecstatic if I got to see that kind of performance out of my Michigan Wolverines, but obviously I didn't. We lost to Michigan State. So, before I get into that though, Michigan State, what are you doing? Are you that stupid? Are you really going to give this guy $95 million over the next so-and-so years for this? For what we saw today? Mel Tucker and his staff, they should subscribe to my YouTube channel and watch my preview videos, because obviously, my mom and dad, they told me I should be a coach growing up, and I never knew how to get to that route. I never knew you could do a GA ship when you get into grad school and all that stuff. Maybe I should have. I should have considered it, because $95 million for what we saw today is an abomination. It's terrible. It's awful. I can't believe what I just saw, and I can't believe you're even willing to pay this guy. I tried to tell y'all, Mel Tucker's not a good coach. I'm telling y'all. He's got a history of losing. He's only had a good season this season. And at the expense of, a lot of the teams he's playing haven't been that good. Michigan choked and gave him the game. He's not that good of a coach. He's certainly not worth that much money. You should have watched my preview video. I said that Michigan State should sit back, not allow the big play downfield. Don't let Ohio State get too high on their horse early in the game. They should take the ball first. They did none of that. I said they should sustain drives. They need to run the ball. God, we're going to get into that. I don't care if you're down 21-0. You still got to give Kenneth Walker the freaking football. What are y'all doing? They literally just played perfectly into the hands of Ohio State. And again, Ohio State did plenty to make that happen, but Michigan State did Ohio State so many favors in this game. Like I said, should have taken the ball first. I said that in the preview video. A lot of people disagreed with me. And obviously, it's not the tell-all factor. They would have got their butts whooped no matter what. But you don't let Ohio State get the ball first, because you know what's going to happen if they get the ball first. They're going to drive right down your freaking throats and throw it all over you, because your secondary is the worst in all of college football. Yet you still let them do it. And on the first drive, you took the right approach. You took the approach that I said you should take. Yes, you gave up 7 points, but it also took Ohio State 5 to 6 minutes to score those 7 points. And so it's not good giving up points, but your secondary is so horrible that you might as well just concede giving up the points and just hope for luck every now and then. But you have to make them methodically work down the field that way to where clock is at least being eaten up. Because think about it. If Ohio State, if you had got the ball first and you were able to sustain drives, Ohio State would have maybe 4 to 5 possessions in the first half, which would still make it get way out of hand. But it wouldn't make it 42-0. It wouldn't make it 42-0. You should have taken the ball first and worked at that first. And then you could have got Kenneth Walker more involved that way early on. You wouldn't have had to abandon the run so quickly. But again, I don't think you should have abandoned the run as quickly as you did anyway. Kenneth Walker today had 6 carries for 25 yards. Just 6 carries. Even early in the game when you didn't need to abandon it yet, you were giving it to other players who were fumbling the football. And also, before I even lose thought of that incomplete pass, God almighty, is the Big Ten officials, are they just trying to help out Michigan State in any way they can? It was absolutely a catch and fumble. It was Ohio State football. I'm not even an Ohio State fan. I'm a neutral fan in this game. I could care less outside of the fact that I wanted Ohio State to win for Big Ten purposes, but man, they do you so many favors, and the ball never lies because you missed the field goal right after that. So it is what it is. Michigan State didn't do themselves any favors. 6 carries, 25 yards, 4.2 yards per carry. Heisman Trophy, my rear end. I mean, listen, before that, some of his yardage was really good. He made some excellent cuts on the very few carries that he did get. And Ohio State, again, up front, they did just such a good job. They had the right game plan. They had the game plan that I wish Michigan, because Michigan has almost as talented, if not as talented, of a front seven as Ohio State does. But we had a terrible game plan. We're switching guys in and out. We were, crashing in and not keeping our lanes and stuff like that. We made it easy for Kenneth Walker, and he's already too good. You can't make it any easier for him. Ohio State had the right things, and all of a sudden, Kenneth Walker, you can forget him being in the Heisman race. You got to win these type of games or at least compete. And you can't have an absolute terrible game like this. Should you have got the ball more to show that you're a better athlete than what they showed? Yes, absolutely. But your coaching staff didn't give you that opportunity. Again, Mel Tucker, what are you doing, man? Millions and millions of dollars to just come out with that. I mean, I can't wait. I know that Michigan's going to stomp these guys in the future. We're going to stomp them. We were going to stomp them the other day, a couple weeks ago, and Jim Harbaugh's just, I don't know, God. Talk about two coaches that aren't worth their money. Payton Thorne, 14 for 36, 1 touchdown, 158 yards. I'm not going to be too hard on Payton Thorne today, man. I think Payton Thorne's a pretty good quarterback. He's definitely an accurate quarterback. He's got a laser of an arm. He had some issues today a little bit, but he's without Nailor, so that's a big deal. That's your speedy receiver. Could have really made Ohio State play back a little bit more. Could have got some more underneath stuff with Nailor in the game. It wouldn't have made that huge of a difference, but it does make a difference. But on top of that, here's where we get into Ohio State. I'm done talking about Michigan State. I think you guys did terrible. The secondary's awful. You just let them get burned over and over again. I'm not sure why that was a game plan. You lost the game in the first quarter because you're not worth your $95 million. So Ohio State, though, let's go ahead and talk about their good. Obviously, C.J. Stroud with an excellent game, 32 for 35, 432 yards, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. My man's coming into his own. Am I worried? A lot of people are going to ask me, am I worried going into this next game? Sure, guys, I know I'm playing around with you and I'm trolling you a lot, but Ohio State's likely to beat Michigan. That's not a secret to anybody, even Michigan fans, if they're being honest. And I am a Michigan fan, and I'm being honest. We're going to lose to Ohio State more than likely. I don't care if it's at the big house. I don't care if we can do some things well that Michigan State cannot. Our secondary is a lot better than theirs. I don't foresee us being that far out of the game in the first half. But at the end of the day, C.J. Stroud is a stud. He's a stud. And if he would run the ball more, he'd be ridiculous. He's already probably propelled himself big time in the Heisman voting race, and rightfully so. Do I think he's the best player in the nation? No, I don't. But he's probably the best quarterback in the nation. Definitely among them. He deserves to be in this Heisman candidacy, and he showed it today. So all that stuff early on in the season where he was kind of looking like a freshman, that's out the window, man. C.J. Stroud has come into his own, and the only way Michigan's going to have a shot against Ohio State next week, the only way you're going to rattle C.J. Stroud is to get him that pressure that he has not seen in quite some time. So Aiden Hutchinson, David Ajabo have to come on the edges, let the 7 people drop back in coverage so that you don't get beat by their speedy receivers, because we have some good cornerbacks and safeties, but we also have some ones that I don't think can keep up with y'all's receivers. So we're going to have to get to C.J. Stroud. If we are unable to get to C.J. Stroud the way Michigan State was unable to get to C.J. Stroud today, our secondary is not as bad as theirs, but it's bad enough to where we will get waxed as well. So, hey, if the offensive line plays well for Ohio State, we're done. We are done in that game. But yeah, same thing as always. Chris Olave, 7 receptions for all these guys over 100 yards. 7 receptions for 140 yards, 2 touchdowns. Garrett Wilson, 7 for 126, 2 touchdowns. Jaxon Smith-Njigba, 10 catches, 105 yards, 1 touchdown. Again, same thing as Purdue. I know it's easier said than done, and I seem like a silly person saying this, but you got to, at the most, give up 2 of those. 2 of those guys have to have a good game, at the most, the only to have a shot. And it's shown in the past as well. Most of the games where Ohio State has lost or the game has been closer, one of the guys didn't have this type of day, over 100 yards. But if you let all three receivers completely go off like that and you don't lock down one of them, you're gonna be in for a long one, man. You're gonna be in for a long one. In the secondary's defense, as bad as they are, because they're horrible. I was wondering, I had my question marks if they really are as bad as they've shown. In their defense, like, Stroud had all day to throw. I mean, he was just chilling in the pocket. Could have had a ham sandwich, a salami sandwich, whatever he wanted, a couple Lunchables, a Capri Sun. I don't know. He could have done whatever he wanted to back there. But again, let's get back to the first half, because that's where most of the points were scored and everything else. It ended up being 56-7 and the under hit somehow, some way. But first half, 42-0, I believe, or 49-0. I keep getting that wrong. And Ohio State, here's why I say the most perfect half that I've seen possibly in my life. The small things, because it's easy to say that CJ Stroud got great protection, he made great passes, his receivers got open, all that stuff. What about the small things, man? What about the kick return coverage that continued to put Michigan State inside the 20? What about the fact that every time Michigan State fumbled, they would pounce on it? Both times they did. One time they called it an incomplete pass, but whatever. What about the pressure that was put on Payton Thorne against a very, very good offensive line that pass protects very well, exceptionally well? What about outside of a couple great cuts by Kenneth Walker, containing Kenneth Walker, basically taking him out completely out of this game? What about not letting him catch the ball out of the backfield? Did he have any catches out of the backfield? Let me see. One catch for 4 yards. So you didn't let him get anything going on the ground. You didn't let him get anything going by air. What about the batted down balls? Over and over and over again. What a great job by the front line for Ohio State, getting their hands in the air, batting down balls. I mean, those are probably, a lot of times I watched the replay and his receiver was open. Payton Thorne's receiver was open. So had it not been batted down, who knows what would have happened? They could have sustained drives. They could have had bigger plays. But Ohio State came to play. The secondary coverage was phenomenal. I felt like they were a little bit handsy and stuff like that, and God, I know that I'm probably going to get but that would be the one thing that Ohio State fans care about in the comments. That would be the one thing they comment on. I felt like they were a little bit handsy, but as is in the sport of football, if they're not calling it, then do it. I mean, I never have been that type of player. I just play hands-free or whatever, you know, but if they're not calling it, you can't really blame them for doing it, because they're going to play the game the way it's being called. But yeah, the secondary was, bar none, the best I've seen out of Ohio State. This is a game where, I've said over and over again, Ohio State has either been bad against the pass or bad against the run. Well, they weren't bad against either today. If Michigan gets this version of Ohio State, that stream that I'm doing next week of the Michigan-Ohio State game, I don't know. I'm not a poor sport, but it might not last that long. It might not. I don't know how mad I'll be. I don't know what my blood pressure will be, but it will be very, very frustrating. Thankful for our sake, we run a little bit more methodical offense. We're going to choose some more time off the clock. We're going to convert more manageable third downs than Michigan State. So we might get blown out in the second half like we've grown accustomed to doing against Ohio State, but I promise you we won't be down as bad as Michigan State was. It was awful. So yeah, but I'm not going to knock Ohio State by saying that Michigan State didn't play well. Michigan State did not play well. This was not their best effort, but they are who they are. And Ohio State knew that their secondary was terrible, and for some reason, Mel Tucker just said, well, let's just go with our game plan that we've gone with all season long. So Ohio State just took advantage of that. As soon as they saw it and found out that's what Michigan State was going to do, they took advantage of that. They went over top and did what they do best. Again, last time I'm going to say it, I've said it a few times in this video, you, Michigan State University, you want to pay $95 million for a guy who has the worst secondary in all of college football, who then knows that and is going against the 6th ranked offensive pass attack and still plays the exact same manner that you've played all season long. That's what you want to do? Michigan State, I would like to formally put in my application to be your head coach. Okay? I can do what Mel Tucker does. A 34-year-old YouTuber in South Carolina who knows how to spell gullible can do what Mel Tucker does. Give me the $95 million if you're just going to give it away like that. I can't promise you that I'm not going to blow it purposefully against Michigan, but I can try to win all the other games, okay? Have a great one, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Next week's the game. Obviously, I'm going to have a preview video and all that good stuff out, and I'll have a Michigan-Maryland reaction out shortly. Have a great one. Congratulations to the Buckeyes. Thank you, honestly, for taking care of business, because now Here we go. Michigan and Ohio State, as long as we take care of business against Maryland. Michigan and Ohio State for the game, for the Big Ten East, for the appearance of the Big Ten Championship, and possibly for the playoffs. Have a great one, guys.